Hey guys, what's going on? Designer Gem here, back with another video. It's been a while since I've actually uploaded to YouTube, so I'm happy to be back making videos. Hopefully this stint of making videos lasts longer than the other 5 videos I made before. Today we have an interesting project. Someone actually contacted me about a week ago looking to actually make 2 stools and a table. So I thought this would be a good idea to actually make a video about some of the design process, how I'm actually going about doing it, creating the piece, some of the logic I'm using, and yeah, let's just get into it. So taking the liberty of drawing a little bit beforehand. I'm not like a crazy artist or anything like that, but you can sort of see this is the design that me and client sort of came up with. We're thinking about making a stool that's collapsible, so having this slotted sort of design going on over here is simple, and it allows you to sort of disassemble the piece, the stool, so that you can store it in a flat pack sort of method. And the top is very simple. You can sort of see it has these what do you call them? These holes that are basically going to fit this peg, these pegs right up here, right into it. When it's fully assembled, it's going to look similar to this. Only thing I haven't drawn just yet is you can sort of see over here on this panel, you got these 2 little guys going on right there, and then on this panel we have just a little hole cut out of the side, a little notch right here, just cut out of the side right there. We're going to use that for the next piece we're about to design. So when thinking about the stool, I mean, it needs to be sat on, right? So it needs to be, this piece right here needs to be large enough that someone can go ahead and put their butt down right there, and it's not going to tilt or wobble or anything like that, and they're going to feel comfortable. And it's going to. The next thing we have is these legs. Again, slot design, easy assembly, easy disassembly, but the only other part that's missing is what I've drawn sort of place for over here, some complementary geometry right here, is some sort of footrest. Now, think about a footrest on a stool. It's probably going to sit somewhere around here, and your feet are going to sit right on that. A couple ways you could design it. It could be just like a rectangle that sort of comes out here. It looks like it's going to have to be split in the middle there. Let me use my eraser tool and just see if we can go ahead and delete some of this so we can sort of see. But yeah, let's go back and draw. You need some sort of line going here. That's a bad line. Let's undo that. Just something going here. That's basically going to allow us to put this on here. Now these holes right here, if I was to draw this piece like this, it's going to look, I'm on the eraser tool, let's go back to here. It's going to look similar to, you know, probably something like this. And it's going to have another little peg situation. It's going to go out here some distance. That's sort of arbitrary. We can figure that out. Depends how big your feet are. And then it looks like it's also going to have some sort of slot design right in here. And this is going to allow me to sort of slide it onto the face, sort of through the face of, through the edge, I guess, of this particular panel. And then this little notch right here is sort of just to help keep it planted right there. It's going to provide us some extra support. It's going to be sitting on this piece. But then it's also going to be sitting on some of the pressure, some of the weight's going to be going through these into this hole, these holes right here, which basically keep it stable on this panel. So that's the idea. I was thinking though, when this design, that this rectangular shape, it might work, but like also what could be cool, as long as we keep these pieces right here in the same position, like this piece right here, this piece right here, and this piece of geometry right there in the same position, we're going to be able to actually come up with different shapes that we can use. So this doesn't have to be necessarily square like so. I mean, square is not bad, but you could even do a system where you got this geometry. Again, you'll start to see the same sort of geometry we're making here. Let's say here, and let's say maybe this is some sort of arc, half circle thing, and we're going to do the same thing there, and let's see how well we can draw this. Just something similar, just something like that. Now the only thing that we have to think about now is just this piece right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my erase tool. I'm going to get rid of just a little area right there, and then we got this. So theoretically, these are pretty much the same piece. This one has a little bit longer sort of larger slot here because it's actually interacting with more of this this piece here. This piece right here is interacting with a little bit less. There's a little, this material inside of here is not there, so therefore the slot doesn't have to be as deep. But you sort of see what's going on here. So that's the thought process that I'm trying to use. As far as the height of this table, this stool situation, it looks like we're going about 24 inches tall. This diameter here is going to be 16 inches wide. And if you're wondering where I got these dimensions from, that's this. I went measured a couple stools in my shop, and that's around the size they were. They felt pretty comfortable. They sat down pretty nicely. And yeah, that's pretty much where we are. Now, other dimensions we need to think about is the spacing, like the height of this piece right here off the ground. So let me undo just 1 second. We're thinking like here, this dimension right here, how far this is off the ground. I'm thinking, so I tested, I looked at a couple, and I was looking at maybe about 11 inches. It just needs to be able to support someone's leg. They don't have to be searching for it. The legs should be dangling. So I'm going to say 11 inches from the ground. Cool. So let's get into the design. So this is just a basic sketch. This is what we're going to be using. And let's get into the Inkscape. So I'm going to open up my Inkscape here. I made a document already. And I'm going to start designing. So first things first, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to, I should also mention, before I even get started, that this piece right here is 0.75 inches thick. And this is rigid material. It's probably going to be wood, most likely, but some sort of rigid material, but that's just what we need to know. All right, let's get back in here. So I'm going to start to draw some stuff. Again, I'm back in Inkscape. I'm going to just grab my circle tool. We're just going to drag. We're going to go ahead and create a circle. I'm going to change the color of this. I'll make it black or gray or something like that. I took away the line color. Having a line on this thing is going to make it, it's going to give us inaccurate dimensions. This piece of this sort of page situation you see back here, it doesn't really matter right now, but let's pretend that I'm cutting this out of a 4x8 piece of plywood or something like that. We're probably going to want to know sort of how many pieces this thing is going to take up. So we're going to go to a file. We're going to go to document properties. We're going to change this to probably like let's do 48 inches inches tall. And then this, we can make this 96. I'm just assuming that this thing's getting made out of a piece of 4x8 plywood. That's all I'm doing. Let's change this right here to inches. And now, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and just start to model. Let's lock these dimensions too so the circle stays the dimension we need. And let's just start to design here. So our dimension right here is 24 inches. No, sorry, 16 inches, my bad. 16 inches. And since we're dealing with that 3/4 inch ply, we're going to need some sort of material inside of here. Well, not material. We need some sort of holes inside of here that have a width of the same thickness of material. But we can't really design that just yet. I mean, we sort of could, but then we would have to sort of translate those pieces to the legs. But I was thinking about doing the other way around and actually design the legs and then figuring out how they're going to interact. So for our legs, we know these are going to be 24 inches tall, except they're not going to be 24 inches tall. They're going to be 25 inches tall, minus 24 inches tall, minus 3/4 of an inch. So we're talking about 23.25 inches tall. The width of these legs, I mean, you want it to be stable. The wider the legs are, the more stable it's going to be, especially when you're thinking about what's going on down here on the floor and rocking and things like that, and also on the seat. You know, you don't want to tilt and tip off the table, tip off the stool. However, for the time being, we're just gonna do the super basic dimensions here. I think I'm gonna make it. We can take a thickness of the material off of the width, just a little bit. Like if you were to check this out right here and lay this on top of here, you can sort of see. If I were to arrange it here, you can sort of see that you have some sort of gap. I do think having a lip is nice. Just some sort of lip might be kind of nice. So we're going to stick with some sort of lip. So right now this is about 14.8. That's close to 15. I like that dimension. I'm going to make this 15 inches. Cool. So now we're here. Next thing that we're going to do is we need to make, I guess, 2 of these. And then we also need to make, what else? So this is our basic stool situation. The next thing we probably need to make is we can make our slots in here. So that's pretty easy. We're going to use half the height of this, so as our slot length. So we got 15, we're at 23.25. I'm just take the dimension. Take this thing, I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to make this 0.75 inches wide. And then just take that and just divide it by 2. And we have this piece. I'm just going to take this, we're going to arrange it. And put it right there. Looks pretty good. Theoretically, we don't even need this guy right now. We can just take this whole situation and just do a duplicate. And then hit V and it's going to just flip it. So this is pretty much what we're dealing with. And the most basic of terms, this is how our thing's going to look, our pieces. Next thing we got to do is we need to create some sort of interaction points between this and these so that they can fit really nicely. In order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and draw a rectangle. This rectangle, I'm going to try and change the color. Now this right here is pretty much going to serve as our little pin situation that's going to fit into the slot situation here, or this hole that we have going on there. So the height of this necessarily needs to be 0.75. You don't want to be you want to be comfortable, you want the seat to be flush. Oops, I'm going to put that just like so. And the width, with the width here, it's sort of arbitrary. You can pick a lot of dimensions. I think that when we come up with, looking at it from the top, geometrically that's going to influence, so part of sort of where we put and the size of these pins. But I'm going to take that, I'm going to keep that right there. I'm going to duplicate it. Maybe we do 2 on each thing here just for like extra support. What if the second one, yeah, let's keep it right there. I'm actually going to, we have some weird dimensions here. What if, let's say this is, instead of being 2 inches, was like 1.5. That looks a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and delete this guy. I'm going to duplicate this one, move it there. I'm going to space it. I like to do the spacing thing where I space it sort of like the same distance apart as the actual piece is wide. Gives you sort of a nice balanced look. I'm going to group that. And we're going to put that somewhere here. I'm going to duplicate it. Again, put it somewhere here. It doesn't exactly, like this is sort of arbitrary as far as like the placement, as long as it's symmetric. So here we go. We got that. I'm going to duplicate this. We can actually go ahead and put that on here too. Nice. Next thing we can do is I'm going to duplicate this guy one more time. We're just going to balance it out. We're going to put it on here, center it nicely, just so we can see what's going on and see how this desk situation, stool situation is going to look. I'm going to duplicate that set of holes. I'm going to rotate them 90 degrees. I'm going to take both of them. I'm going to group them. Hold shift. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to just arrange this nicely. So as far as our stools, this is pretty much the way they're going to look. As far as that top and from some of the dimensions that we've come up with so far, I think it looks pretty good. It's going to give us some good support all the way out for almost the edge right there. It's going to give us plenty of contact area for these pins to fit in. When we make them, we're going to try to make them not quite as, we want to make them pretty snug so that when they fit together nothing comes off, but you want to also make them in such a way that you don't have to worry about them becoming too stuck together that you can't like take the piece apart. Next thing, so we could, I know we talked about, we have this piece over here we need to design. I would love to just go ahead and just design it right, just straight up. But I've been thinking about it, and we might kind of want to do some sort of contouring. Now that we have all of our main pieces sort of designed, developed, we might want to do some sort of contouring to this stool, to this geometry, especially those legs, just so it looks kind of nice or what have you. So, and it's not just a straight line. As far as contour, I was thinking that we could probably like bring this in just a little bit maybe, and just have it sort of come in and then back out. Maybe up here is a little bit more sort of exaggerated curve. So let's go ahead and do that. In order to do that, of course I made this using the rectangle tool. I need to take this guy and go to object to path. Now instead of, like, if I check this out, I'm using Inkscape here obviously. If I double click, you can sort of see I have some properties that I can adjust. I can change random stuff about this. But now that I object to path this, now this thing is literally just made up of these 4 points. I can't curve those edges like I could before. But it allows me to add points along this line right here and start to try to adjust some of these points to sort of make this the way we want it. I'm just going to pull this back just a little bit. It looks pretty good. Go ahead and delete that guy. You can sort of see some of the contour coming together. We're going to just gonna mess with this probably for a few minutes until we sort of get what we're looking for. I'm gonna delete that one too. So this isn't too bad. Like, I mean, it looks interesting. Obviously, it's not symmetric just yet, but we're gonna fix that momentarily. Um, Pretty much what we're gonna do. I kind of like where this is going. It sort of slopes down in, and then it comes back out. This might take some adjustment for the final model, but you know, we can work with this just for right now. So in order to get this to be symmetric, I'm just gonna go ahead and duplicate this rectangle here. I have a width of 15 inches. I'm just going to divide that by 2. And we're going to go ahead. We're going to take that, throw it on the side there, and now take this guy, and I'm just going to subtract it from there. So now we have half of this. I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to say H to flip it horizontally. My snapping is on, so I should be able to just snap it nicely to there, to this node right there. Cool. I'll take these two guys, merge them together. Now check that out. We got ourselves a nice stool situation. Now this is technically going to give me this will give me some information that we can use when designing that little footrest. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. I'm going to center it on this one. I'm going to deselect the one the curved one. I'm going to hit delete. So now we're just left with the curved one. Take this, throw this to the bottom, and yeah, looks pretty good. Next thing we got to do is we got to figure out that that piece. So I'm going to start. I kind of think that this footstool situation, if it had a diameter, it would be as large as the tabletop, and as a stool, as the seat of the stool, if not a little bit larger. Just because, generally speaking, when you sit down, your feet are going to be sort of, might not be directly underneath you. They're probably, if they are any direction, they're probably going to be a little bit forward, at least most of your foot. So, if in order to get more contact area easier on with your feet and the stool, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make this just a little bit wider. So we looked at this here. It looks like we're going to have to deal with this. We're going to try to do the semicircle one. See how it turns out. So I'm going to go ahead and make a circle. Oops. Let's change the color. Make another one. Cool. This one, delete. How much wider do we say? I'm thinking that, to be honest with you, I'm thinking that this could be probably about, we said 16-inch tabletop. Oops, my bad. 16-inch stool top. And then we're thinking maybe 17.5. I'm going to throw this to the bottom in the arrangement so we can just look at that dimension. I think that looks okay. I don't want to go overboard with it, and when we model it, we'll be able to see a little better. But it looks pretty good. Yikes. Said you didn't have. Now, we got to do a thing. Is the width of this. This is pretty much how far it's going to come past the, I just showed you how far it's going to sort of come past the actual stool top. However, with this piece is only going to be on one side, so we don't really need it to be that much wider. If this is the front of the seat, we don't really want this to be much wider than that. So in actuality, it might end up looking a little bit more like this than what it looked like just a few seconds ago. But we're going to go ahead and just move this guy out of here and start to tinker. I'm going to put this to exactly 16. 16 inches wide. And we also need to figure out the placement, because we need to figure out this placement too. Because if, as you see, we've sort of brought this in a bit, so this might change some of our dimension too. I don't know, we'll see. But imagine if this was exactly 16, just straight up and down, then this is what we'd be dealing with. Next thing's next. So we're gonna do a thing here. I need to measure just from the bottom here, 11 inches. Take this, we're gonna move that just there. So it looks like it's telling me that this is about where the piece is going to go. Now this is interesting, because I don't want this to be too narrow. And right here, it looks like we just have one of the most narrow pieces parts here. If I was to measure from here, from about where this is, there, yeah, we're only at 11 inches, not even 11 inches. That means this, like if we're to keep the same shape, this is going to have to be that same width. Interesting. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. Let's duplicate it just in case. All right. Now let's actually get it to look the way it's supposed to look. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and make a rectangle that's 0.75 inches tall. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to simulate the fact, because what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to chop this guy in half. And I'm going to use this rectangle to do that. And the reason I'm doing this like this is because this piece right here is supposed to be representing part of a circle or part of some sort of curve, some sort of ellipse that sort of comes out from right here. So now if it was symmetric, it might be that 17.5 inches tall, or I can't just split that in half either, because what you end up with is the fact that there's thickness to this material right here. And if this piece right here, if I was to just pretend to draw this guy, I'll make that 0.75, and I'm gonna make, let's say if this was coming dead from the dead center, right there, this object, then yes, I might want to do that half. You know, it might make sense to cut it directly in half. However, I have to chop this part off here, because this part is going to be influenced by, it's going to basically interfere with the material itself, for this panel right here to slot down. So really that's why we took off. So we put the 3/4 inch bar in the center to simulate, and then we subtracted it, and now we're left with this. I'm actually, at this point, not too mad at the way this looks. I'm just going to go ahead and just center everything. We're going to make sure, if I take this guy right here and bring it to the top of there, align it with the top of there. It looks like we're pretty much at width. I'm going to make it just a smidge smaller. That's pretty close. I'll make it just a smidge bigger. It's hard to see too because we're not really there. So let's make this width 10.57. I'm gonna take that away and just center it. 15, 10.5. Let's say 5, 3. And now, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty darn good. Nice. Next thing we got to do is something super fast, super simple. We're going to go ahead. I'm actually going to take the same guys that we used right here. I'm going to take this guy and duplicate him, bring him over here. I'm going to take this, move it straight to the top, just make it nice and flush with this. It looks like we probably only need one of these. Move that right there. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to try to sort of get it, in the same sort of spot. Looks like they're grouped already. I'm going to take them. I'm going to center them. Looks pretty good. Next is we need to sort of duplicate them, change their color, and move them right to here. Group that, move this down. Perfect. Now that I'm looking at this, I don't see any reason why we can't just make this a solid piece as opposed to trying to carve out all this stuff. I think that's sort of a hybrid between both of these, where we have that going on, where this is solid and this is round. Let's make it round and solid at the same time. So next thing's next. We just got to go ahead and put that slot in there. I'm just going to pretend this is 0.75, and let's make sure it is actually. And what we're going to do is we need to basically figure out how far this slot's going to go into here. I'm thinking about doing the same thing on here where you have the we're doing half and half, sort of another slot situation like what's going on right here. So the height of this at this point, it's 8.375. This width should be exactly that. 8.375, perfect. And I'm going to line it with, I'm actually going to line, how am I going to do this? I want to get this to be smack right there in the center. So in order to do that, I could center it, but like, they'll put it to here. We want it to get it to right about there, but like precisely. What we're going to do, we know the width of this bad boy right here. We know it's 15 inches, so I'm just going to duplicate this guy and make this 7.5. We're going to take that. We're going to slap that along the side there. Now if I look at where these things line up, this is going to line up dead smack in the center there. I'm going to take this guy right here. I'm going to throw him right there. And so this right here is a representation. I can throw this to the back. This right here, move this over here, is a representation of a side view looking at this stool. And we got a little situation going on here. Actually, you know what? I think I did this wrong. So I did get it nice and centered. However, this piece right here, we already sort of accounted that for that material removal. So it can't really sit right along here. It's going to have to sit right there on the outside edge of that. So this is actually sort of what it's going to look like. I mean, to be honest with you, we should be using this this piece right here. In fact, I think we can. We're just going to take these guys, group them, and we're going to move this right over to there. Now I'm going to take this guy and just move them over. There we go. Got them. We got a little situation going on here, though. Because now what we need to figure out is we need to figure out exactly where, how long is this area of excuse me, of interaction. We're going to measure this from the widest point on here to there. So like you can sort of see this is going to slope down. So this line, if I was to measure from here to here, that line's going to be one size. But if I was going to measure from here to here, it's going to be a little bit longer. In order to get the exact length, like I could just do like just a measure tool and whatnot. But what I really want to do is to just get it perfectly exact. So I'm going to take these guys, I'm going to duplicate them, I'm going to ungroup just until we have all of our objects separated. I'm going to take this guy, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to just look at that intersection between them, and this width, 4.971. That's the length of the slot. That's the ultimate length of the slot. Basically, the space where these guys are interacting. So we need to use that information and actually go ahead and put that slot on there. So I think I could just copy that. I'm gonna make another rectangle. Actually, we can just use this one right here. Let's get our good old 7.75. And I'm going to just take this width right here. I'm gonna put that new dimension right there. And then I'm gonna divide it by, we could just divide it by 2, maybe. I'm going to turn it white in this case, move it over here. I take it, I'm going to rotate it, and now I'm going to just put it right up against there. And now this piece is pretty much done. Next thing we got to do is do the same thing right here. Oops. Control C, Control V. Now we got a little problem here. Is that it's hard to actually tell how we're going to line this piece right here directly to there. Like we can get it pretty close, but pretty close isn't close enough necessarily. So we're just going to go ahead and take this guy and move him back to where he was before. We're going to center right there. We're going to just pop it on right there. Now this piece right here, I can move it to the front. There's a little guy back here. You can't barely see him. There you go. You can see him now. Now I'm going to move this so it's smack on the edge of there. Like if I were to lift this up, you can sort of see it's just right there, corner to corner. And that's where I want to be. So now I can actually get rid of this guy or move him. I probably can get rid of him. He's pretty useful. And so is this guy. But if you can see, look at that. We got all our stuff designed now. It looks like I can delete that one. Take this, just move them over here. But yeah, this guy is going to fit in that slot and fit into this piece right here. These two are going to cross and sort of intersect and have this sort of slot fit design going on here. This top is going to go on. This guy is not needed. This isn't needed either. And yeah, these are our parts. Now, I'm not going to just go ahead and start unioning and combining parts just yet. I'm going to make a duplicate of this just because we want to be safe. In case something happens, we might want to go back and edit. So I'm going to go ahead and union all these guys together. I'm going to go ahead and just do the nice subtraction there. These guys right here, I'm going to just drag them down just a hair. You don't have to, but I like to, just to make sure that everything's going to work perfectly. These guys, shift this. We're going to ungroup that. I'm going to union that. Now these guys right here, we're going to union those together. Make sure this is centered. It should be already centered. It's centered. Oops, wrong keystroke. Instead of unioning, we're going to just go ahead and subtract. And we got the same thing going on over here. So we're just going to deselect these guys right here. I'm going to union them with that. And then now all of this, we're just going to take these guys and union these ones together and then subtract. Same old right here. And then this, subtraction, action. Yeah, this is pretty much how we're working. And it looks like, yeah, I think I'm going to, well, for orientation, I think I'm going to do these this direction. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And yeah, we'll keep this one oriented this direction. Just try snapping off. I think it's like important when we're designing stuff to make sure that like you can fit as much on the page as possible and in a efficient way. Save material, you can cut more using the same amount of material, you know, just better for everybody all around. Boom. Boom. Now, they want two of these stools. So it looks like I can do probably 2 or 3 stools on this same piece of material. But we're just gonna do the one for right now. I just want to make sure that could fit. Next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and save this again. I'm gonna make a new document. We're gonna render this stool and save it as the SVG. I'm gonna go ahead and open up my nice Fusion 360. I want to be able to actually see this in action, like see what this might actually look like. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just make a new folder here and call it Can I enter this folder? Cool. Yeah, so now we're in Fusion 360. This is a 3D modeling program. We're just going to pretty much use this, the software here to sort of like take the design that we made and just like render it so we can sort of see it in, not in the flesh, but like with proportions and fully assembled and all that jazz. Insert an SVG. Render. And look, we can bring stuff. Oh, did I bring the right file? I brought the wrong file in here. It would appear. I need to delete all of this out of this render file. Also, I'm going to take these. I don't know if you see this going on here. I don't know what the heck this is. But you can sort of see that. I don't like that. In order to stop that, I'm just going to union all of these parts together so they're actually one object, and we save it. And now I'm going to say cancel. We're going to bring it right back in. Still. Very strange. I'm going to take this. Sometimes like it just doesn't, it's not happy. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to subtract that from there, and now I'm just going to go ahead. Maybe we try it like this. Cancel. Insert. That's better, but what the heck is with all like this? Why is this a thing? Whatever. We can work with this. This is not the happiest I've been, but it's fine. Sometimes it's like the translation gets kind of weird. So we're going to scale this. Now I know that for some reason with Inkscape, bringing into Fusion, I don't know if my settings are wrong or whatever, but it's always like some random, the scale is always off. But now we've got it scaled back. It also looks like for some reason this circle here is not appropriate, but there we go. And now, yes. So now it's pretty simple. All we really got to do is extrude these pieces. We're going to pull them out to 0.75. And we're going to take these bodies. We're going to create components for the bodies. Now we can actually assemble and do all that jazz. Before we even do that, I'm going to go to render. We're going to choose some. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make some cool stuff. I'm going to make this to the viewport aspect ratio. So now what we're going to do here is in Fusion, we're going to just start changing some of these appearance and add some wood, add some different colors. What I usually do with this is I'm going to take all these guys, I'm going to turn them into, actually no, we're going to keep them as oak. If we were doing laser cutting, I would turn the, just to sort of illustrate it, I would probably turn everything walnut and then like go ahead and turn, after turning that walnut, I would turn each face with whatever color, and the walnut just gives the impression, you know, makes it look a little bit like the laser cut, like the burn line in the laser cutter. But we don't really going to be using a CNC router for this, so we don't need that. So let's go ahead back to design, and I'm going to set this guy up. I'm going to go ahead and move it. I'm going to do components, so we're just going to go ahead and select this guy or something, and we're going to rotate him 90 degrees. We can capture the position, that's cool. And now we can start to join all this other stuff. So it looks like this joint, this piece right here, I would like to join, this is the flat side of this, I want to join it to that. Oh, did I select this? Let's see if we do the rotate. Let's flip it, maybe. There we go. Looks great. Now we can take this top, let's do a similar situation. I'm going to join this piece right here, right up to there. And now, last but not least, we got this little guy right here. And I think, what does that look like? It looks like that's going to go here. Was that the edge of that? Oh, let me go to the back here then. And we're going to flip it. And do the rotate. 270 degrees. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much how it's supposed to look. Looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. We could have done this in Fusion too, obviously. Done the whole thing, but I chose to do it in Inkscape. There were some reasons, and we'll see them later. Probably future videos. But let's now check this out. This is how this is gonna look. I'm gonna go ahead and maybe make a couple of renders. I'm gonna save it. And just call it a stool. And I don't know what color they want it painted, so we're not going to add the paint colors on. One thing we will do though, this is something we're definitely going to end up doing, is these edges, we're going to make them just a little bit more comfortable, especially these top edges. I put a little fillet on here. A little fillet there, a little fillet there, just on all these edges. On this edge, on that edge, on this edge, on that edge. I'm not going to do the inside edges, like the inside where the actual pieces interact. We're not going to worry about that, but on all these outside edges that you might interact with and feel, we're going to go ahead and try to just smooth off some of that just by adding just the slightest fillet on it. I'm thinking 0.125, like an 1/8 inch fillet's probably going to be the best. And yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and make a couple renders of this. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys might want to see designed next. We'll be doing a lot of other videos, and at the end of this you'll see some renders and stuff like that of this actual piece. But yeah, that's pretty much it. See you guys. So about a day after I recorded this video, I went back and was looking at the renders, and I noticed that the footrest looked a little bit high. And so I went back and checked my dimensions, and apparently I had used the measurements from a 30-inch stool as opposed to a 24-inch stool to basically get the clearance that we used, which was, we said it was 11 inches. It turns out that on, I guess, most of your 24-inch stools, that's probably closer to about 8 inches off the ground. So this is me just going ahead and just fixing everything, using the Inkscape file and just adjusting the design. You can sort of see that we ended up making that footrest just a little bit wider because it ended up being farther down on the contour, so it needed to be a little bit wider. And that was pretty much it. Just need to be wider and a little bit lower. And yeah, that was pretty much all that we needed to do. Went ahead and rendered it. And so the actual renders that you guys are going to see at the end of this video will be of that new design with the proper clearance for the footrest. That's about it. See you guys.